You think you're still climbing? You've actually been standing at the top for a while. There is a guy who spent 15 years at Microsoft. Every month, steady as clockwork, he put money into his 400K and never touched it. At 42, he looked at his account balance, $750,000, and handed in his resignation. He went and became a yoga instructor, $38,000 a year. His friends thought he'd lost it. His parents started calling less. Everyone assumed he was running away from something. But nobody saw the one thing that actually mattered. He had already won. That $750,000, even if he never contributed another dollar, would grow to $2.44 million by age 65. Retirement wasn't a goal for him anymore. It was a mathematical certainty. He just chose to stop pretending he was still chasing it. I know someone else with the exact opposite story, a lawyer, 51 years old, $320,000 a year, $1.2 million saved, working 70 hours a week. He told me he needed to hit $2 million before he could sleep at night. I ran his numbers. If he stopped contributing today, that $1.2 million would become $2.3 million in 12 years on its own. The number he was grinding himself into the ground to reach, he'd already mathematically surpassed it. He was straining to climb a mountain he'd already summited. Between those two people runs an invisible line. Most people don't know that line exists, let alone how close they are to it. That line has a name. It is called the crossover point, the story of two horses. Picture your wealth-building journey as two horses pulling a carriage up a mountain. The first horse is your contributions. In the beginning, this horse is carrying all the weight. It is breathing hard, grinding up the hill one step at a time. You are the engine. The second horse is compounding. At the start, this horse is almost laughably weak. You invest $10,000. It grows 7%. You get $700. Compared to what you deposited, it barely registers. But these two horses don't grow at the same rate. One gets tired, the other quietly gets stronger. Somewhere on that mountain, there is a specific point where the second horse has grown powerful enough that even if the first horse stops completely, the carriage still makes it to the top. That point is the crossover. The technical definition is simple. The moment your portfolio's annual growth exceeds the amount you actually contributed that year. From that moment on, you are no longer the sole source of your own wealth. Your money is working harder than you are. Let the numbers do the talking. Let me break this down. Say you invest $20,000 a year with a long-term 7% annual return. Portfolio at $100,000, your contributions account for 74% of the gains. You are still the main character. Portfolio at $300,000, you are splitting the work 50-50. Portfolio at $500,000, your contribution is just 36%. Compounding has taken the wheel. Portfolio at $1 million, your $20,000 is barely a rounding error. This is why people say it suddenly gets easier. That is not motivational fluff. That is pure math. In the early years, you're Sisyphus, pushing the boulder uphill, teeth clenched, one step at a time. But somewhere around $300,000 to $500,000, something shifts. You'll feel it before you can explain it. The boulder starts rolling on its own. You're just keeping pace. What happens if you stop contributing midway? Here is a question most people are afraid to ask out loud. What if I stopped contributing right now? Same setup. $20,000 per year, 7% returns, target of $1 million. Sit with that last row. Stop at $500 K. Save to the halfway point, then stop completely. You'll still hit the goal in just 2 extra years. Because once critical mass is formed, the second horse is strong enough that your ongoing contributions become, in relative terms, less and less necessary. Coast-fi, a different kind of freedom. Now you might be thinking, does this mean I don't need to keep investing? Not exactly. There are two related concepts here that often get confused. The crossover point is a psychological shift. The moment you realize compounding has overtaken your contribution power. It is a mental liberation, exciting, but it doesn't mean you can walk away entirely. CoastFi is something more specific. It is an actual number. The balance in your account today that if you never added another dollar would still compound on its own. CoastFi isn't early retirement. It is freedom from the pressure of having to work. Once you've hit it, you can downshift, take a lower-paying job you actually enjoy, start a business without worrying that one bad year destroys your future. Step back to be present with your kids without the constant mental accounting of what it is costing you. Let me walk through this step by step because most online calculators get this wrong. Step 1. Decide how much you want to spend per year in retirement. Let's say $70,000. Step 2. Subtract income that doesn't come from your portfolio. Say you expect $25,000 a year from Social Security. That means your portfolio only needs to generate $45,000. Step 3. Apply the 4% rule. $45,000 Sunda, 0.04 equals $1,125,000. That is your target portfolio. Step 4. Work backward using present value math. The formula: real return rate, FEVI, nominal return minus inflation. If you are using 8% nominal and 3% inflation, your real rate is 5%. Example, you are 35. You plan to retire at 65, that is 30 years. 1125千花3花 1.05 花30花16 000. If you are 35 years old and you already have $260,000, you could stop contributing entirely today, and the math will still get you to your retirement goal. Meet Sarah. Numbers need to be human before they hit home. Sarah, 38 years old, software engineer, $130,000 a year. She started at 25. 13 years later, her account sits at $420,000. Her plan: retire at 60. Spend $60,000 a year, expected Social Security, $22,000. So her portfolio needs to generate $38,000 annually. Target portfolio is $950,000, but based on the math, her coast number is only $325,000. She has $420,000. Her coast number is $325,000. She crossed the line a while ago. It means if Sarah gets laid off tomorrow and takes a $45,000 year job as a park ranger just for the health care and the lifestyle, her retirement plan keeps rolling forward completely untouched. That $420,000, even if she never adds to it again, will grow on its own to approximately $1.2 million by age 60. Not a theory, math. But here is the trap nobody wants to talk about. The most dangerous trap: one more year syndrome. Then you think, let me work 5 more years, build up a bigger cushion, keep more options open. Reasonable, right? But 5 years becomes 10. Your income went up, and so did your lifestyle. A bigger house, a nicer car, different schools for the kids, better vacations. Your coast number quietly changed. Because your target spending grew, your target portfolio grew with it, and you used a higher standard of living to put the freedom you just created right back in a cage. I've met people with $2 million saved who feel poor. Technically, they could retire. But they've built a life that burns $12,000 a month, so they keep working, trapped by their own success. This isn't an income problem. It is a perception problem. What is at the end of all this money? There is an old story about a Mexican fisherman. An American banker on vacation watches a fisherman come to shore with a full catch. Why don't you stay out longer and catch more? This is enough to eat and a little to sell. The banker excitedly lays out the roadmap: catch more fish, buy a bigger boat, scale up, go public, retire, then spend your days fishing. The fisherman looks at him and says, "That is already what I'm doing. I'm not romanticizing poverty. I'm not saying simplicity is the answer for everyone." The fisherman's model works because his needs are structured that way. For most people, it doesn't apply directly, but the core principle is real. Past a certain point, more money stops delivering more freedom. What it delivers instead is more complexity, higher maintenance costs, and a life structure that becomes increasingly hard to walk away from. Your coast number is your personal mathematical proof of enough. It is the moment the machine you've built is strong enough to keep running, even after you stop fueling it. Three-step action framework. So what do you actually do with all this? Step 1. Calculate your coast number once a year. Not every week, not obsessively every day, once a year. Sit down with the formula and see where you stand. Below the number, your job is to keep feeding the machine. Above it, you have a new decision to make. Step 2. Separate your identity from your income. This is the hardest step. Most of us grew up absorbing one belief: your worth equals your earning power. Crossing the coastline doesn't mean you should stop caring, but it does mean your reason for working can shift from "I have to" "I'm choosing to." That is a completely different way to live. Step 3. Plan your life in chapters, not decades. Before Coast, your job is to build the machine. After Coast, your job is to decide what the machine is for: more wealth, more time, more impact. There is no universal right answer, but if you don't actively choose, inertia chooses for you. And inertia always votes for staying exactly as things are. One last thing. I've watched a lot of genuinely wealthy people up close, how they operate, how they think. Most of them hit their coast number decades before they formally retired. They kept going, not because they needed more money, but because they hadn't figured out what came next. Don't be that person. Figure out your crossover point, calculate your coast number, and when you cross that line, make a conscious choice about what comes next, instead of letting momentum slide you back onto the same track. Because the biggest financial advantage isn't moving the fastest. It is knowing when you've already won.